Grace Brody again here, the creator of the Race to Infinity Maths game and the author of the Make Math Fun book. We help children fall in love with mathematics. That's what we do. Now I'm going to quickly show you a quick trick to be able to tell whether or not a number is divisible by 8. Okay? So, now 2 ways to tell. The first one is, because 8 actually is equal to 2 times 2 times 2, so it's actually multiplying 2 3 different times. You can actually just check a time. So when you have a number and you divide that number by, and you check if that number is divisible by 2, and you actually divide that number by 2 and get an answer, and then check again whether it's divisible by 2, and then divide it by 2 and check again if it's divisible by 2. So you can do it 3 times. So that's one way to do it. The way that I love to do it, that's easier, especially when you have bigger numbers, is, I'm going to use an example. So if you had 3,128, is that number divisible by 8? Well, the rule is, if the last 3 digits is divisible by 8, then that whole number is divisible by 8. So it's 128 divisible by 8. Yeah. So sometimes you can tell quite easily it's divisible by 8. Sometimes you can't. So what you can do is then take just this and break this down. Is this divisible? And you'd want to check 3 times, just like I said in the first way of doing it, 3 times whether this is divisible by 2. So the first thing is 128 divisible by 2? The answer is yes, because it ends in an even number, because that's how to tell if a number is divisible by 2 or not. So 128 is divisible by 2. And if you divide that by 2, that's 64. So you want to check if the next number is divisible by 2. Yes, it is, because it ends in a 4. It ends in an even number. So if you actually divide that by 2 now, you then get 32. Is that divisible by 2? The answer is yes, because it ends in a 2, it ends in an even number. Therefore, 128 is divisible by 8, and therefore, remember the rule, this last 3 digits here of this number is divisible by 8. Yeah? Now, sometimes some of these tricks are practice. So you can, after doing these tricks for a while, you'd be able to realize that actually if you saw some numbers, you just know that they're divisible by certain numbers when you just look at them, just by doing them, just like riding a bicycle, learning how to ride a bicycle, learning how to swim, learning how to do anything. Maths is just a skill. I always say there is no such thing as a maths person. Maths is really just a skill, and it just needs practice the right way. Right, let's do one more. So is 8,120 divisible by 8? Again, if you look at this, another way to do it is, first of all, you look at the last 3 digits, 120. So you want to tell whether or not 120 is divisible by 8. Then you'd know whether or not this whole number is divisible by 8. Well, 120, I can straight away say this is divisible by 4 and by 2. So to cut that process, I could just look at it and say, yes, it's divisible by 2, by 4. Okay, that would be 30. Then I need to check if it's divisible by 2 as well. Because then if I can do those, if it's divisible by 4 and divisible by 2, then it means that it's divisible by 8, yeah? And you can check back to the ones I did about 6, about dividing by 6, and breaking it down to check whether it's divisible by 2 and divisible by 3. Therefore, it would be divisible by 6. It's the same here. Is it divisible by 8? Well, check first if it's divisible by 4 and divisible by 2. Or is it divisible by 2 3 times over? And that would also tell you whether or not it's divisible by 8. Okay? So it is divisible by 4. That's 30. Is it divisible by 8? Well, 120 divided by 4 is 30. And then we're checking this 30 as well to see whether it's also divisible by 2, which is 15. Yeah, 15. So it is divisible by 8 because it's divisible by 4 and 2. So 120 is divisible by 8, and because 120 is divisible by 8, 8,120 would be divisible by 8. Because remember the rule, if the last 3 digits are divisible by 8, then the whole number will be divisible by 8. So for any more tricks, follow us on our social media channels, which is going to be displayed right after, and we'll be bringing you more maths tricks to make you and your child look like a genius and impress people.